Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group B1 and in this video we are going to talk about jurisdictional overlaps between civil and Sharia courts. This project explores what happens when the civil and Sharia courts disagree on who has the power to handle a case. It looks at sensitive topics like religious conversions, marriage, and family rights to see how these legal battles affect both Muslim and non-Muslim families. The focus is on the legal structure of Malaysia and the federal constitution. While the research analyzes past court decisions and laws, it does not look at the professional backgrounds or the professional conduct of the judge involved. The focus is on the legal structure of Malaysia and the federal constitution. While the research analyzes past court decisions and laws, it does not look at the personal backgrounds or the professional conduct of the judge involved. The main finding is that unclear laws, especially Article 111A of the Constitution, often cause cases to move back and forth between two courts. This lack of coordination creates long delays, which unfortunately hurts families and lowers public trust in the legal system. In conclusion, the system needs better rules for communication and clearer boundaries for each court. By standardizing laws across all states, the legal system can ensure that justice is delivered fairly and quickly to everyone in society.
The judicial system in Islam aims to resolve disputes through divine law, specifically the Quran and Sunnah. In Malaysia, this is integrated into a unique federal structure where Islam is recognized under Article 3 of the Federal Constitution as the religion of the Federation. This has resulted in a dual legal system, which is Sharia and civil law. To prevent conflict between these two systems, Article 121 of the Federal Constitution was enacted. The two systems operate through distinct hierarchies. The civil court structure consists of subordinate courts, which are magistrate and session. Meanwhile, superior courts are high courts, courts of appeal, and the federal court as the final authority. A primary challenge within this dual system is the jurisdictional overlaps that occurs in interfaith disputes. For instance, Indira Gandhi against Jabatan Agama Islam Perak and Rosliza Ibrahim against Kerajaan Negeri Selangor cases. This report focused strictly on the institutional framework and the consequences of these overlaps on the administration of justice.
Moving on to the literature review, we are looking at the challenges of dual court jurisdictional overlap specifically within the Malaysian context. The core issue, the primary issue is the hazy border between our civil and Sharia courts, while Article 121, subsection 1A of the Federal Constitution was intended to separate their powers. It unfortunately left several grey areas regarding where one court's authority ends and the other begins. Real-world consequences. This dualism often leads to forum shopping and prolonged legal battles, especially in sensitive family matters like child custody, unilateral conversion, and inheritance. We see an institutional rivalry where civil courts focus on constitutional primacy while Sharia courts focus on Islamic identity. The classical perspective. If we look back at classical Islamic jurisprudence, this conflict didn't exist. There was an unfight authority. Even though different rules applied to different people, there were no competing court systems. The goal was always the avoidance of harm and conflicting rulings. Moving forward, so what are the solutions? Scholars suggest everything from a strict division of power to full harmonization. A popular moderate view is coordinate dualism, which involves shared training for judges and much clearer legal definitions. In short, there is a clear consensus. The current overlap causes uncertainty. To achieve true justice, we must establish precise boundaries that respect both our federal constitution and Islamic principles. Next, we look at how the four major schools of law approach the issue of overlapping court jurisdictions and judicial fragmentation. The Hanafi school emphasizes the rule's discretion and pragmatism. They generally oppose fragmented courts that produce inconsistent judgments and believe the ruler has the power to unify judicial control to keep things simple and orderly. The Maliki school focuses on maslahah mursalah or the public interest. They argue that conflicting court orders, especially in sensitive areas like custody and inheritance, cause real damage to families and the legal system. Therefore, they strongly support coordinating or integrating these courts to protect general welfare. Third, the Hambali school prioritizes justice protection and administrative innovation. Like the others, they oppose judicial fragmentation when it leads to unfair or inconsistent rulings. They support the state's power to reorganize or combine civil and Sharia institutions to ensure social stability. Finally, the Shafi'i school, which is highly relevant in Malaysia, stresses a systematic legal order. They argue that parallel jurisdictions producing contradictory verdicts jeopardize the execution of the law. They believe the ruler must uphold a logical system and prevent the harm caused by legal confusion. In conclusion, across all four schools, the message is clear. Judicial unity and the prevention of harm are more important than maintaining separate conflicting court systems. Finally, we look at the practical consequences of these jurisdictional overlaps, focusing on inconsistent rulings and enforcement difficulties. The biggest dispute happens when civil and Sharia courts issue opposite orders on the exact same matter, like child custody or inheritance. This leaves families caught between two authorities with no clear framework to resolve the conflict, which ultimately weakens public trust in the legal system. Even when a court makes a decision, enforcing it is a major challenge. There are currently no clear protocols for the two court systems to acknowledge or enforce each other's rulings. Confusion and procedural defeats. This leads to two main issues. First is confusion, which enforcement agencies often don't know which court's direction takes precedence, especially in heated custody battles. And second is procedural deficit, because there is no common enforcement mechanism. Even someone who wins their case might be left without any practical way to actually get justice.
Assalamualaikum. In this part, I will discuss the issue of jurisdictional overlap between the civil court and the Sharia court in Malaysia and explain why this overlap causes legal uncertainty, especially in family law and commercial case. Malaysia operates under a dual legal system. The civil court have broad jurisdiction over constitutional, criminal and administrative matters for all citizens. Meanwhile, the Sharia court have limited jurisdiction over Muslim in matter of Islamic personal law such as marriage, divorce, custody and inheritance. Although this system aims to respect religious diversity, problems arise when disputes involve both Muslim and non-Muslim. In this situation, both courts may claim authority, resulting in conflicting judgment. These conflicts are just not technical issues. They directly affect family, children, and the enforcement of justice. From the perspective of usul al-fiqh, Islamic law emphasizes justice, clarity, and the prevention of harm, while Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 48 recognizes different legal systems for different communities. Maqasid al-Sharia require the protection of essential interests, particularly family welfare and children's rights. Jurisdictional uncertainty clearly goes against this objective because it leads to harm rather than justice. This issue can be seen in the Indra Gandhi case 2018 when the unilateral conversion of children led to conflicting order between civil court and the Sharia court. Due to poor coordination, the dispute was prolonged, causing serious hardship, especially to the children. Classical Islamic juristic views support reform. The Hanafi school allow flexibility through ihtisan, meanwhile Maliki school prioritize public interest to maslahah, and the Shafi'i school recognize the authority of the state to regulate matters to prevent confusion and harm. Together, these views support better harmonization between two courts. In conclusion, although Malaysian dual court system reflect both constitutional and Islamic principle, clearer jurisdiction boundaries and stronger coordination are necessary. Such reform are consistent with Islamic jurisprudence and essential to ensure justice, legal certainty, and public confidence. Thank you.
The key issues and findings for these reports are constitutional ambiguity, procedural deficits and inconsistent judgment, also theological contrast. Proposed reforms to help resolve the legal conflicts between civil and Sharia courts in Malaysia. Our goal is to make the law fair and clear for everyone. First, we need a clear jurisdictional boundaries. We propose amending the Law Reform Act of 1976. This stage will ensure that if a couple gets married in a civil court, that court keeps the power to handle their divorce, custody and property. Even if one person later convert to Islam, this prevents confusion over which courts to go to. Second, we need coordination mechanism. We suggest creating a joint tribunal where judges from both systems can talk to each other to solve conflicts before they start. We also need laws that make sure financial orders like alimony are respected and enforced by both court systems. Finally, we need legal literacy. The law can be complicated. We can propose public campaigns to teach people about their rights before problems happen. If people understand the legal impact of their choices, we can avoid many painful disputes. In conclusion, by setting clear boundaries, helping courts work together, unifying laws, and educating the public, we can create a more just system for all Malaysians.
Jurisdictional overlaps arise due to civil courts and Sharia courts are operated under two different authorities. The key conflicts are disputes most frequently occur in sensitive areas such as conversion to Islam, interfaith in marriage, divorce and child custody, and inheritance. Recommendation for the future and in legislative reform is to introduce clearer guidelines to define jurisdiction in interfaith, family and child custody, while in legal literacy is to enhance public awareness of the legal implication of conversion and interfaith matters to prevent disputes. But last but not least, the goal is to move forward in a more harmonious dual legal system that ensures fairness for all Malaysians regardless of their faith.